today I'm going to present this seminar on the key to effective communication. Hello everybody, I'm Dr. Rupali Mirza and I'm going to talk about the 4 skills to effective communication. The first skill that we are talking about is listening, the other one is speaking, third one reading, and the fourth one is writing. Now all these 4 skills, we have an acronym LSRW. So LSRW is going to determine your actual communication skills. Now if you want to remember this, always remember this acronym, which is LSRW, where L stands for listening, S stands for speaking, R stands for reading, and W stands for writing. Let us go to our next slide, which talks about communication skills. Now when we talk in terms of listening, there is a lot of difference between hearing and listening. When words are just falling onto your eardrums and you are just listening, perceiving some sounds, then that process is called hearing. While if you are perceiving the sounds and also interpreting the meaning of what the other person is saying and you are paying constant attention, it is called listening. So we have to develop a sense of listening rather than just hearing a message, and this happens over a period of time. Now here we have the actual definitions of hearing and listening. As I just explained to you all, hearing is just a process or function or power of perceiving sound specifically and special sense by which noises and tones are received as stimuli. While listening, on the other hand, it means that you are paying attention to the sound that you are perceiving and you are hearing something with thoughtful attention, and also you are considering what is the actual message that the speaker is trying to convey to you. Now these are the different types of listening. When we talk in terms of different types of listening, this is important because types of listening can be employed in specific places where, especially in the classroom situation, you should be doing mostly active listening. So when you are in a classroom and you are listening to a particular lecture, you are doing active listening as well as you're doing content listening. So you have to listen to most of the content that your professor is delivering to you. While if you are passively sitting in the class and you are not paying constant attention to what the professor is communicating in the form of a lecture, then that is mostly passive listening. While if you are also using your power of analysis to interpret a few questions that your professor has shared with you, that is called analytical listening. And if you are doing some kind of entertainment while you are listening to a specific message, or in the form of a song or in the form of a TV program, it is called appreciative listening. So generally when we do appreciative listening, we always appreciate the things which are important to us. For instance, and especially, entertaining to us, like a song which you like to hear, you would know the lyrics of that particular song. So you pay a lot of attention while listening to that song. So you remember the lyrics and maybe you are also singing along. And then we come to empathetic listening, where you have to empathize with the speaker of that particular message. It is important that you are empathizing with the speaker, meaning these types of listeners are the most popular listeners. So when we talk in terms of types of listening, then you have to take care that you are employing the correct kind of listening at the correct place. Now coming to speaking. Speaking is basically putting all your thoughts and ideas and imaginations into words. While speaking, you have to pay attention and you have to think before you speak. Now, thinking is a very important process. Without thinking, if you are just formulating a message, it is going to be haywire. But if you think and if you formulate a message in order, then obviously it is going to be a good and well formulated message. Then the other things which are important while speaking are, you have to take into consideration if there is any kind of MTI problem or mother tongue influence. When you are talking, there should be no mother tongue influence, or your pronunciation, how How are you adhering to standard pronunciations, or what is your rate of speech? Are you speaking too fast, or are you speaking very slowly? So rate of speech is also very very important. There are some people who speak very very fast. Now when they are speaking very fast, then what happens? The listener is always confused. They don't know how to keep pace with your pace of speaking. So your rate of speech should be in a way that the listener is able to comprehend each word of it, and neither should it be very slow, otherwise it becomes very very monotonous for the listener. So your whatever you are trying to convey in terms of your speech, you have to put your thoughts, your ideas and your imagination into words. You have to think, you have to formulate your ideas and thoughts. You have to think before you are speaking. Then again, you have to take care of your mother tongue influence, you have to take care of your pronunciation, and you have to take care of your rate of speech. Now pronunciation, how do we take care of pronunciation? How do we understand that this is the correct pronunciation and that is the wrong pronunciation? That is when you will listen to the native speakers. Make a habit of listening to native speakers, like you can listen to the news on BBC or any kind of English news that is being that is being communicated on the television. Then there you have to try to copy the pronunciation of the speaker, especially the news readers, how they pronounce specific words, and then you try to pronounce those words exactly as they pronounce them. MTI is your mother tongue influence. Now, when we talk in terms of nations like India, we have a lot of regional undertones in the way people speak. So, when there are regional undertones, then obviously, if a Punjabi is speaking English, it will the English will sound like Punjabi, or if there is a Gujarati, he'll be talking English in the Gujarati accent. So it is the voice and accent trainers who train you so that you get rid of the regional accent. Whatever regional accent you have to get rid of that regional accent, and you have to speak in a neutral accent. So you have to scanning. There are two reading techniques. One is skimming, where you go through the entire material. Like for instance, right before your examination, how do you want to cover most material? You want to read a complete book before your examination. How do you read a book of 300 pages in very little time? Then you will have to take up some effective reading techniques, and one of them is called skimming. When you are skimming a book, first you take a look at the table of contents, what is there in the table of contents, and then you go to the actual book, you read the introductory chapter in detail. That will tell you about the entire book, what it is all about, and then you go to the concluding chapters, and then you read the concluding chapter in detail, and then when you read the concluding chapter, you also know what conclusion the author intends to put in over there. Then you have to read every chapter with a lot of attention. The introduction of that chapter and the conclusion of that particular chapter is very important, and read first line of every paragraph in that chapter. That will help you to do skimming of that entire chapter. Then when we look at scanning is another way of interpreting while you are reading. So supposing you have to look for a specific word, then you have to scan information. For example, earlier we used to go through each and every line, scan each and every line for specific information. And now who does the scanning for us? It is the computer. So when we do search in the computer, then obviously we scan for particular words. That same reading technique can be adopted while reading a particular passage where you are looking for specific information. That is called scanning. So these are two effective reading techniques. One is skimming and one is called scanning. And if you want to read really really fast, and if you want to have a long span, like span is basically how many words you can cover at one go. while you are reading? How many words do you see in one go while you are reading? Like, for instance, there are some people who can see just two words at one go, so they will be slow readers. While if you train your eyes to see three, four, or more words while reading, then you are increasing your eye span, and that is why you become a better reader. Again, when we talk in terms of writing, writing is also important, and so we have to follow three steps, because this is a part of communication, and writing, believe me, is not easy. So as I said, before formulating any message, you have to think first. So while writing, if you are giving a particular topic, if you are given a topic for writing, you have to do brainstorming first. Brainstorming is your thinking process, how fast you can think. For instance, if I ask you to talk about rainy day, then you have to think about the words, the key words that come into your mind depending upon the particular topic. Like if it is rainy day, you at once think about ditches and drains and over flooding, and you think about words like drizzling. You think about words like it's raining like cats and dogs. So these are like keywords which are associated with the topic. So first we have to identify the main keywords which are associated with brainstorming, and we formulate them, and then we start with our writing process. So we make the outline first, we identify the keywords, and then we start with the writing process. We make the outline first, we identify the keywords, and then we start with the writing process. Now while you are writing, you try to explain all those terminologies which you have talked about, and then when we have written whatever we wanted to write, then we go to the third step, which is called proofreading. Everything that you have written does not mean that it is perfect. So we have to go through each and every line, and we have to identify our mistakes. We have to see if there is any kind of semantic noise in what we have written. Are the structure of sentences correct? This is one thing that we have to see. Are our spellings correct? So spellings, structure of sentences, and also whether those particular lines are adhering to our main topic. Are they doing justice to our main topic is a part that we need to pay attention while doing proofreading. Now over here in this slide, next slide, we see process of communication. So this is the basic process of communication that you generally see, where it emanates. It starts with the sender of the message, and it has to go on to the receiver of the message. So when we talk in terms of sender sending the message, and it has to go on to the receiver of the message. So when we talk in terms of sender sending the message, then he uses a channel or medium, and that can be in the form, the message can be in the form of verbal and non-verbal communication, while it goes to the receiver. So when the receiver listens to that message, it elicits a response or a feedback which goes to the sender again. So the sender knows that the receiver has listened to the message carefully. For instance, in a classroom situation, when your professor is giving a lecture, you are the receiver of the message. You are listening to the entire lecture, and you are the receiver of the message. And then you identify, in order to identify whether you have understood the message of the professor, he is going to ask you questions. If you are able to answer the questions, obviously you have received well and you are giving a positive feedback. So if the sender of the message, that is your professor, gets the correct answers from you, or gets the correct kind of response from you, or gets the correct kind of reaction from you as feedback, he understands that you have interpreted that message carefully and you have understood well. Then of course, there are, in this whole process, there are barriers of communication. First is your process barrier. If supposing there has been a problem from the end of the sender of the message, if the sender of the message has not been able to use the right words to send his message, then there is a process barrier where the